Hello, welcome to this week's story update. Today we're going to be speaking with Michael Anastasio, who shared his story with us about 4 years ago. Before we speak to Michael, let's take a look at his story.
My partner Chase died October 23rd, 1993, which was 10 years to the day that we met. I had, after that point, sort of receded behind the walls of our Beacon Hill apartment. Having lost Chase, my best friend Randy, and dozens of friends before them, left me with sort of a paralyzing numbness. You know, I cried all my tears, and I had just packed it away for the winter, you know, behind those walls, and really just stopped feeling anything. You know, the feeling was just too difficult at that time. And I'd had Chase's body cremated, and I'd gotten several notices from the crematorium to pick up Mr. Leon's ashes, you know, and I just couldn't do it. Yeah, I guess it was the finality of the situation, but I just couldn't make myself go out into the cold, brutal Boston fall, winter, and pick those ashes up. So they just stayed where they were. They were in 4 boxes because Chase had requested that his ashes be disposed of in 4 different places, and I could foresee a future where I was going to have to divide ashes into 4, and I wanted no part of such a thing, so I asked them to do that. So they were holding those 4 boxes in South Boston somewhere, and I was doing my best to just avoid the whole ash situation. Christmas was approaching, and as I said, I was just so depressed. And Christmas is my favorite time of year. You know, I was always of the, if it doesn't move, decorate at school of Christmas decorating. You know, and crazy with Christmas. And Chase wasn't as much so, but he enjoyed the fact that I enjoyed it so much. Well, it was just me, and I started realizing I didn't buy any Christmas presents that year, didn't bake any cookies, it just didn't do all the things that gave me so much joy usually. And when I realized I wasn't going to have a Christmas tree, I got even worse. I'd never had a Christmas without a Christmas tree, and I thought, well, that's what you can do for yourself, go out and get a Christmas tree. So I did. I went out and got a Christmas tree, I put it up, started decorating, you know, and I had all the boxes of stuff out, you know, and I had carols on, I had mulled cider, you know. If I'd planned ahead, maybe I would have invited people over, it would have been better, but I hadn't, and so I wouldn't have been there wallowing in self-pity, but that's just what I was doing, wallowing in self-pity. And I remember just like getting partially done, and I just sat down on the chair and ornaments in hand and surrounded by this mess. And I don't know how long I'd been that way, and the doorbell rang. And couldn't imagine who it was, but we had a garden apartment, so I had to go outside into the cold, into the garden, and open the big gate that I'd been hiding behind for months. And there was this skinny man, and all dressed in black, of course, with a Dickensian-looking man, you know, that right out of central casting for somebody who would be delivering ashes. There were 4 boxes in his hands, and I recognized them immediately, Chase's ashes. So I walked back into the house and closed the door and sat down where I was before the doorbell rang with those 4 boxes. They were all like little cubes about that big, 4 of them, just resting heavily in my lap. All that pent-up grief that I'd just been storing just all came out at that moment. You know, it was just, and possibly at what was the worst moment of my life. Through the bleariness of all this crying, I looked down at those boxes, you know, just holding them in my arms, and I noticed a little yellow Post-it note on top of one of them. And I just kind of, you know, wiped my eyes and read it, and clearly it was meant to be removed before the boxes were delivered, but it said, "Deliver 4 boxes of Leon to Michael Anastasio." And this struck me as funny. You know, in the midst of all that crying, I thought of Chase had a great sense of the absurd. And all of a sudden, it was like I was seeing that note through his eyes, "Deliver 4 boxes of Leon." That was his last name, Chase Leon. 4 boxes of Leon. And all of a sudden, I started chuckling. And then I started laughing. And then suddenly the laughter was as uncontrollable as the crying had been. It was like I had released so much grief that all of a sudden, this one little Post-it note that some little office worker must have written out and stuck on there saved my life. Like, I think probably what it did was it resurrected him for a minute, because I saw that note through his eyes, 4 boxes of him, and just the thought of 4 boxes of Chase, it's too funny, and I looked around that room, and it may sound corny or whatever, but it was like everything in that room came to life suddenly. There was so much death and dying and sadness in that room. And then all of a sudden, it just sparkled with life. Everything that I saw, it was just like he was in every molecule around me. It was just this beautiful experience where suddenly everything had been about death and suffering. Now, all of a sudden, everything was life. I got out the prettiest wrapping paper that I had, wrapped all of them, very good gift wrapper, wrapped them all. Best ribbon that I had, and tied them up and made these 4 beautiful bows. And I put those 4 boxes of Leon under the Christmas tree. And that was my Christmas that year. It was that little Post-it note. I'm not sure what I would have done without that little Post-it note, but it changed everything for me. And it seemed like that was my hurdle. I had to get rid of that grief somehow, and those 4 boxes arriving. I mean, if I was looking for something to make pick things up, getting 4 boxes of your deceased lover's ashes while you're decorating a Christmas tree is not going to cheer you up. But the Post-it note did.
Michael, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. How are you doing?
I'm great. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good. As you can tell, I couldn't resist having my Christmas tree behind me for this interview, to stay in theme with your story. How are you? It's one of my favorite stories. It's so, obviously it's sad, it's heartbreaking, but it's also so real and human, the way that sometimes we just start laughing at weird times. And there's just so many things about your story that really just stuck with me. How do you feel? We're filming this in early to mid-December. The holidays are coming around. How are you feeling around this time?
Great. I mean, when you have a loss, it never goes away, and of course the holidays tend to bring things back, and the very active decorating a Christmas tree. I could never do it without the thought process of this story about Chase, and so it's the grief is not there anymore for the most part. The depth of sadness after so many years isn't the same as when this was actually happening to me. So it's mostly the good feelings, and at the end of the story, I talk about how he just seemed to be in every molecule in the whole room, and I think that's what I remember the most about that time, and how sadness can instantly change to something else, with just a little Post-it note that just changed everything. That little Post-it note was such a gift, and so.
Yeah. Have you decorated this year? Where you live?
Not yet. Because we went down to Florida to see my sister-in-law. We just got back, and I actually have decorating clients that I do Christmas decorating for, so I'm already behind with that. So I'm finishing this job tomorrow. So after that, the tree will go up, and Eric and I will decorate the tree here, and so I'm a little behind this year because of having gone down to Florida, but that's on the ticket for probably toward the end of the week.
So you're decorating other people's Christmases first, and then you'll get to yours.
They're paying customers, so they get done first, and they've already waited a little bit longer than normal. I would try to do it right like the day after Thanksgiving usually, but we got pushed back a little bit because of being in Florida and the flights that we could get back. So so just a little bit late here.
Yeah. I feel like every holiday season, someone out there is missing someone, especially this year with COVID. A lot of families aren't able to get together, or, people might have lost loved ones over the year. Do you have any advice for anyone who might be feeling lonely or missing someone over the holidays?
Wow. Advice. I think more in the way of just reflections on the fact that, it's the tried and true, it does get better, and when the wound is fresh, and especially at Christmas time, that's the the um, the feelings are so much rawer, and so I would just say, go with it. If you have an emotion, don't repress it. Just go with it. Because part of grief that I found out is that you'll just be going around along your day, and suddenly it will just overwhelm you, and for whatever reason you just start crying, or just I suppose the best advice I could give is just go with it. If it happens, just don't try to control it. Don't, just get through it. And there is nothing like a good cry, so I would say, if you feel it coming on, just let it come on, experience it, feel whatever you're feeling. Don't bottle it up. Don't try to contain it. Don't try to be strong, because I think there's a lot of strength in tears, actually. And you need to express the emotions however they come. So it's probably the best thing that I can give from my experience of loss.
Yeah. I think that's really great advice. Do you have anything else you want to share with anyone about anything new in your life or any exciting updates?
Oh gosh. Well, since last we spoke, I've written a book, and actually all of my stories that I related to you are now in print form. Well, not print because it isn't published. I've written the manuscript, excuse me. It's not a book until it's published. So I've spent like the last 5 years now putting that together, and I'm still working on it. And it's 50 years of being gay in America, from 1951 to 2001. And it's full of stories, much like the ones that I told on I'm from Driftwood, and practically from conception on. And so that's been my biggest project since I made the I'm from Driftwood videos, and that's the thing that I'm most excited about. And I'm right at the point where I'm just about finished with it, where I'm looking for publishers and that. So we'll see what happens with that. But it's called Gay Boy's Life, and we'll see what happens with that. But that's my biggest excitement right now. And apart from that, Eric and I are both looking forward to getting back to this family we've created in Europe. We have so many friends in Europe, and we're really missing them because of COVID, and I'm not sure when we'll get over there. We go there, they come here, so that hasn't been happening for the last 9 months. So that's the other thing I would suppose that our focus is just being able to be together with our family again, our created family, the logical family as opposed to biological family.
Yeah, I think we're all missing that a lot, and just being together, and all the hugs and community and travel and all the stuff that goes with that. So
I think Michael, there are a lot of people who will never take things for granted ever again. I mean, that I think it's been a great time for everyone, I think, to be able to sit back and reflect a little bit and just see, all the wonderful things that we have in our lives that we need to be grateful for every single day, and I think it's easier to focus on those now.
Absolutely. It's kind of forced people to really kind of take stock about what's important and focus on things that are not be distracted, I think, by as many things. So I think at the end of it, it'll, I don't want to say it'll be good for people. It's been a horrible catastrophe, but there can be good to come from it. So
good comes from every catastrophe, if you allow it, and look on the positive side of things. There will always be a positive side to anything.
Yeah, you just got to roll with it. So, well, Michael, it was so good to see you again. Hopefully it won't be another 5 years that we catch up. But thanks for taking the time. And if anyone has any questions for Michael, just leave them in the comments. And Michael, you also shared, I think it was 5 other stories with us throughout the course of your life. And if anyone wants to watch them, just go to imfromdriftwood.org and search for Michael Anastasio, and they'll all pop up. So until then, we'll see you all for next week's story update. Thanks for watching.
Great to see you, Nathan.